really recommend everybody to read the book Cultivating a Compassionate Heart, the Yoga Method of Chenrezig. We have copies in the dining room because that explains the whole practice in depth and will give you a lot of information about it that will be very useful to you in your meditation practice. Okay, usually, thank you. Okay, so usually when we do a retreat on a particular deity, we also study the practice of that deity during the retreat and also before the retreat, because we don't want to become fully learned about the practice at the end of the retreat. We want to know how to meditate on it, kind of before we start the retreat, or at least at the beginning of the retreat, so that we can really get into it. So I highly recommend that book for giving you some background on what we're trying to do. Lama Yeshe's book, Introduction to Tantra, is also quite good. And I think we sent out a little reading list before the retreat to help people. When you're doing retreat, you study the practice you're doing. But it's also good to study the thought training, or what they call mind training teachings, thought transformation or mind training teachings, because let's face it, when we meditate, our concentration is not perfect, far from it. And all these other thoughts are coming in our mind, one right after the other. And some of them, pass through and go away. But some of them we really latch onto. And so the ones that we latch onto, that we meditate on, in other words, grasp as if they were the absolute truth, those we have to be quite careful of and be able to see how they are based on misapprehensions, on misconceptions, and apply the antidote to them. Okay, that's quite important. Yeah? Because Dharma practice means transforming our mind. It doesn't mean going through some kind of external ritual or adopting external accoutrements that make us look like a practitioner. It means actually working with everything that's going on inside of us. Yeah. And there's a lot going on, isn't there? Yeah. And it changes very quickly. So we have to know how to work with our mind, how to be like a doctor to our own mind, how to first discern what is a realistic and beneficial thought, what is not a realistic and beneficial thought, to be able to discern the difference between those two. Yeah? And then when we see that there's a virtuous thought, then how to encourage that and enhance that. When we see that there's a disturbing thought, how to apply the counterforce to it, how to really let it go so that it doesn't create a mess. Mm-hmm. So this is all, this is what practicing Dharma means. And in the context of practicing Dharma, we have to realize, first of all, that we're changing all the time, that it's impossible for us to remain the same. And also that we want to change. Okay? If we want to just keep thinking the way we think, then we don't really need the Dharma. We don't need any spiritual path because we just want to keep on with the same old. Yeah? True, isn't it? Yeah? We don't want to change.
Just recently, a childhood friend, this was my birthday not long ago, wrote me. I hadn't heard from him for a while. so there's been a couple of emails going back and forth, and I just got one that said, on one hand, like, what you're telling me is really true, and it would help me change my mind, but actually I don't want to change. Yeah. I just want to live out my life and be peaceful and, do what I'm doing, and it's basically, it's too scary to change. Yeah. So, nobody's forcing us to change. Yeah. Like I said before, we're changing every moment anyway. Yeah, so we might as well steer it in a good direction. Yeah. But if there's, issues that you just feel, okay, I don't want to deal with, at least be honest with it and say, that's an issue and I don't want to deal with it. Instead of saying, it's somebody else's fault and I have no issue. Okay? But then, really think about what happens if we just cling on to our old ways of doing things and our old ways of thinking, and, just think of what our life is going to be like. Yeah. And then we see that, Dharma practice, transforming our mind, is something that's very, very important. That it helps not only for our future lives, it's not only a spiritual path that leads us to liberation and enlightenment, it not only helps us in future lives, but right here and now in this life, it helps us to be more relaxed and more peaceful. Okay? So, watch that mind. It's called resistance. Yeah? Yeah. Like, I want the Dharma, but on my terms. I want to be free of all my pain, but I want to continue to blame others for my problems. Now, what do you think? Is that going to work? Can you be free of all pain and continue to blame others for your problems? Do the two go together? We try and make them go together, don't we? Yeah. But the thing is, the more we blame others for our problems, the more we make ourselves into a victim, so the more we convince ourselves we can't change, so the more we suffer. But we want to be happy, and we want to be peaceful, but we don't want to give up blaming others. I think this is called, you want your cake and you want to eat your cake and have it too. This is how our ignorant mind works. So we have to explore those kind of issues, and really see what works and what doesn't work. Okay, so let's look at the practice. Okay, so we start out visualizing Chenrezig. So yesterday I was talking about different ways to see Chenrezig. One is, as a being who, like us, practiced the path and gained enlightenment. A second is as a manifestation of enlightened qualities. And a third is as the future Buddha that we're going to become. When we visualize Chenrezig, okay, now some people, it's true, are more visual than other people. Some people learn visually, some people learn auditorily, some people learn kinesthetically. So you have to kind of make the practice your own in that regard. Okay? Some people, the visualization part comes easy to them. With other people, it works better to do something more kinesthetic, like feel you're in the presence of the great compassionate one. I mean, after all, that's the whole purpose of the visualization. the purpose isn't just to develop some kind of skill in visualization. It's to actually feel like we're in the presence of somebody with great compassion. Because then, that does tremendous things for us. Just knowing that there are beings in this world that have that kind of great compassion. How healing that is to us. Like we were talking yesterday, one of the qualities of Chenrezig being a good refuge, a reliable refuge, is that there's no judgment, and no matter how we act, no matter what we've done, the compassion flows equally to us. Okay? So, being able to imagine sitting in the presence of somebody with great compassion, who's looking at you with great compassion. Yeah. Sometimes it can take us quite a while to even imagine somebody looking at us with compassion and acceptance, because we're so used to looking at ourselves with criticism and disparagement that, thinking of Chenrezig looking at us with compassion and acceptance, it's like, that feels really uncomfortable. Because we often import into our Buddhist practice different ideas or feelings that we've gotten from the religion of origin that we grew up with. Whether those ideas were correct or incorrect is another issue, but we import them in, and all of a sudden Chenrezig becomes the wrathful Old Testament God who's going to smite us. Yeah, well, no, actually, that's not Chenrezig's character. And that's why, yesterday I said, really think about what it would feel like to have great compassion, and to then imagine that feeling appearing to you in the physical form of Chenrezig. So really imagine what it would be like to be in the presence of somebody who was completely accepting of no judgment towards you, who's not looking at you and saying, you really should do this, and you really should do that. Why don't you do this, and why don't you do that? You're really an idiot. How could you have done that? Didn't I tell you so? So, we can imagine being in the presence of that kind of person very easily. Yeah, but that's not who Chenrezig is. Okay, so we have to really shift and expand our mind. And when we think that Chenrezig is looking at us with acceptance and compassion, that makes a change in our own mind, because then we don't need to be defensive anymore. Yeah, we don't need to put up this wall to protect ourselves, because nobody is blaming us. Okay? So that makes a real shift inside of ourselves. What does it feel like to drop my guard because I don't need it anymore? Because it's something old, that maybe was useful when I was growing up with sentient beings, but it's not useful when I'm in the presence of the great compassionate one. So what does that feel like to drop my guard? Okay, so the practice is working in us on many, many different levels. Okay? Because, when you think about it, we all want to generate great love and great compassion. Can we generate great love and great compassion if we're still keeping our guard up? Yeah, think about it. The feeling you have in your own heart when you're protective of yourself, when you're defensive, when you're resistant, when you're suspicious. Can you have that mental state and have love and compassion for others at the same time? Do they go together? No, they don't. Now, does letting down our guard mean that we just become mush and everybody can do whatever they want and we are the world's doormat? Does letting down our guard mean we don't know how to assess what's correct and what's incorrect, what's appropriate and what's not? Okay. Can we still assess what is appropriate, yet without being defensive? Okay. This is a skill we have to develop, because we go into, this whole psychological thing of I've got to have my boundaries. Yeah, let's make my boundaries. Okay, I've got my boundaries. Now I can relate to you. Yeah? So we confuse boundaries with walls. Yeah? When they're talking about boundaries, they're not talking about, it's not a boundary that prevents the other person from getting in. It's a boundary that stops our unwise behavior. Okay, we think, I've got to set up boundaries so that the other person doesn't get in and take advantage of me and do this and that and the other thing to me. Okay, so I have my boundaries. Don't you cross my boundaries. I have love and compassion for you, but don't you cross those boundaries. Okay? So I don't think boundaries are to keep other people out. I think, I don't know what psychologists think, but I think that what is really meant is for me to be able to discern myself what works and what doesn't work, what I feel comfortable with and what I don't feel comfortable with. Not to keep other people out. It's for me to gain clarity on how I want to relate to other people. Do I want to relate to other people as the world's doormat, where they can just say and do whatever they want? Is that helpful to them? Yeah. Is that helpful to me? Okay? So, I don't think Chenrezig needs to put up any boundaries because he's just has love and compassion. And together with that, the clarity that doesn't fear others and doesn't expect things from them, but just accepts them the way they are. Yeah. The fear comes when we have so many expectations. When we have so many projections. But when we greet somebody with love, those projections aren't there. So the fear isn't there. That a Catholic priest, the book that we all read, Tattoos on the Heart, what was his name? Father Boy. It starts with a B. So that, with Tattoos on the Heart, he worked with gang members in the inner city and set up this industry called Homeboys Industry to get the kids in the gangs working together. And it was very, very successful. But in the book he would often talk about, meeting kids on the street and they need to go somewhere or do that, and he would take them places and, get involved in their lives. And one time somebody said to him, "Aren't you afraid that they're going to take advantage of you?" And he said, I don't worry about them taking advantage of me. I've given my advantage to them. Yeah? So he's he has that very clear mind. He's given. He wants to give. He wants to give, and he's clear about it. Then there's no taking of advantage. When we give but we're not clear about it, and we have resentment, and so we're not giving with a pure heart, we're giving because we feel obliged to, or because we want somebody to like us, or because we're afraid of what's going to happen, that's when we feel we've been taken advantage of. Okay? So that's coming from a lack of clarity on our own part. Because if we see, oh, I don't feel comfortable giving this, that, or I'm not ready to give this or that, or I don't think it's going to be beneficial to do that, then we do know the vocabulary word no. Yeah, but it comes out as no. It doesn't come out as no. Okay? So, Chenrezig knows how to say no. Yeah. Because Chenrezig's working for the benefit of sentient beings. And yes is not the only thing that benefits sentient beings. Sometimes no benefits them more. Okay? But Chenrezig isn't afraid. If he says no, what are they going to think about me? Maybe they won't give me any bananas if I say no. They won't praise me. Yeah. They'll like Tara better than me. Well, because there's offerings and respect and praises in the sadhana. Well, they won't do that. They'll do Tara practice instead. I'll be all left behind. With my 1,000 arms reaching out, wanting to hug everybody, and they don't want me because I said no. And all 1,000 arms will come in like this. Okay? Yeah? So, when we're visualizing Chenrezig, we're getting some feeling of what great compassion means and great acceptance, and how to relate to that, and how to let down our own guard without fear. Okay, how to get rid of the fear that keeps us so bound up. Okay? So the whole practice of taking refuge, is involved with this kind of psychological change. It's not just, okay, well, Chenrezig has the 10 qualities of a Buddha, 1, 2, 3, 4, and he has the 4 fearlessnesses, 1, 2, and he has the 18 unshared qualities, 1, 2, 3, It's like, how am I going to relate to somebody who has those kind of qualities? What does it do to me? Yeah. One time, I know I'm going off on a tangent, but one time, many years ago, I was living in Bodhicitta, the retreat center in Dharamsala, and I was leading a Dharma course for the new people, and my teacher was there, and he, was, living there, and he would ask people, invite people into his room to do puja with him in the morning. And then one evening he was doing self-initiation. So he invited some people to come and do self-initiation with him. And it was a real privilege, to be invited into Rinpoche's room to practice with him. And but I was leading this course. And I knew, because Rinpoche has no idea of time, so things start whenever they start and they finish whenever they finish. So don't plan on sleeping. But I had to lead this course, and I don't do very well when I stay up all night. So, even as a teenager, I couldn't pull it off. So, I wanted desperately to go to this practice, and also because it's so much merit and incredible purification and restoring your precepts, and you create so much merit, and I really wanted to go. But I had to lead this course for the new people. So I was so torn, and then finally I just said, after a while of internal civil war, okay, I'm not going to go, because I have to teach this course. But I felt so guilty, because I was telling myself if I only had more compassion, then I would have the energy to go and practice all night and still teach the course. It was simply because I didn't have enough compassion. That was my problem. So I went to sleep while everybody's in there creating virtue, and and I'm just, and so the next day I go in to Rinpoche, and I make it through prostrations, and then I say, Rinpoche, I'm really sorry I didn't go to the puja last night. I feel a lot of regret about that, and I missed a great opportunity. And Rinpoche was doing something. I can't remember what he was doing. He was sitting on the floor doing something, and I'm going on and on about how guilty I feel, and disappointed in myself, and he must be disappointed in me. And he just looks at me. So? No, he didn't say so. He said, then? So he said, so then I kind of repeat it, I feel really bad, and everybody else is creating merit, but, I had to get some sleep so I could help these beginners. Then? And then I, say, it's like, I'm so tormented with my guilt. I want him to give me absolution or something. I feel so guilty. And all he would say is, then? Yeah? So it was a big lesson for me, because all this stuff I was feeling was totally a creation of my own mind. The guilt, the reproach, that if you only had more compassion, you would have been there, all this kind of stuff was completely coming from me. It wasn't coming from him. He didn't, like, then you need to sleep, go ahead. You're doing something else that benefits sentient beings. Don't beat yourself on the head. Yeah. So, just for me to learn how to relate to somebody, because I'm so used to relating to people who criticize, judge, blame, project, that, like, how do I relate to somebody who doesn't do that? Yeah, that makes me change. Okay. So when we take refuge in the three jewels, yeah, it makes us change in how we relate. Yeah. And it, it puts in front of us our trust issues. We don't have any trust issues, do we? Our trust issues, our authority issues. all these kinds of things. So that's why, taking refuge is a process. We start out with it, and then it continues to grow and grow and grow. The more we understand the qualities of the three jewels, and the more we relax and learn to trust those qualities, and to follow their instructions on how to develop those same qualities ourselves. Yeah. Okay? So when we're visualizing Chenrezig, and when we do that first prayer of taking refuge, this is, part of the process that is going on inside of us. Okay? Any questions so far? I'm not going to go through all the details of the visualization. Those you can read. I'm talking more about the meaning here. Okay? Anything? Okay, so when you do the sadhana, you can, at the beginning, spend some time taking refuge. Huh? You can do the rest of the sadhana. Sometimes when you do it, you spend a long time on refuge and do the rest of it more quickly. Other times you may do refuge quickly and spend more time on, like, the 4 immeasurables, or on the mantra, or on the 8 verses, or something like that. So you can, be flexible in how you do it according to where you need to put more attention at a certain time. Okay? But this practice of taking refuge in the three jewels is really quite beautiful and quite meaningful, because when we do it with our heart, then we feel, that we're being held. We're being held by the virtue of the three jewels. Because we're putting, we're taking refuge, we're making a choice to take a good direction in our life. Okay? Who's our role model? The Buddha. Yeah. Our role model is not the gang member, selling crack at the corner. Yeah. Our role model is not, whoever we happen to have in our life, some movie star, some, sports hero. Yeah. Our role model is Chenrezig. Mm-hmm. So, that's who I want to become like. Quite interesting to think a little bit, who has been your role models as you've been growing up? Yeah. Who did you really idolize when you were young? Who did you think had it all?
My father.
Your father? Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
My brother.
Your brother?
At first.
Uh-huh. Other people, who are your role models?
Picasso.
Huh?
Picasso.
Picasso. Now, who did you really respect and think was wonderful when you were little? Saints?
Church, yeah.
Oh, St. Francis?
My minister, his wife was dying of cancer, and he prayed, and she recovered. And this is back in the 50s when nobody recovered. And that was such a profound experience for him.
Mm.
He'd been a drinker and stuff. Totally quit. He saved his money. He built his own church. And he brought his enthusiasm with him.
Mm.
And a remarkable guy.
Yeah.
And he lived to be well into his 90s, and he was he had great compassion all his life.
Yeah. so we can see, kind of what were we attracted to when we were little? Who did we want to be like? Yeah? Yeah. So now, we're wanting to be like Chenrezig. Yeah. So what that means is, having great compassion inside of our own heart. It doesn't mean that our personality has to be a cookie-cutter personality of Chenrezig's. Okay? Yeah, everybody's going to still have kind of their own personality, so to speak, which is, of course, is something that's constantly changing. Yeah? So we don't have to think that we have to make ourselves into somebody we're not. But when we take Chenrezig as a role model, we're saying, oh, I want to become great compassion. That's where I want to go in my life. That's what I really respect. That's what I honor. That's what's valuable to me. That's where I'm going. And when we have that kind of clarity, it makes so many things in our life clear. And when we are taking refuge in Chenrezig's great compassion, we have to remember it's not Mickey Mouse compassion. It's not idiot compassion. It's compassion that's put together with wisdom. So we're also taking refuge in wisdom. The wisdom that knows the ultimate nature, the wisdom that knows the conventional nature. Okay? So we're really, clarifying in our life what's important to us and where we want to go. And that's so important, isn't it? Because we're always getting pulled around in this society by the latest fad, the latest this or that we should all have or all do or all be. Yeah? And here we're making, very clear what we want to do and be. But like I said, how that gets expressed in the world is going to be very different for each of us. Because we all have different talents and different capabilities. Yeah? But going towards wisdom and compassion is clarifying our lives in quite a wonderful way. Because then when all sorts of other things come up that are going to, pull us this way or that, oh, come do this, you'll be more famous. Come do that, you'll look better. Come do this, and your family will finally approve of you. Come do that, and you'll be popular. Come do this, and you'll look really good, and, get a partner. Come do this, and, yeah? So instead of getting pulled here and there by all these things, we kind of know the basic values, and direction we're going in life. Okay, and taking refuge in that, and knowing that there are beings who can guide us in that direction. Yeah. But while Buddhism doesn't believe in an external God, doesn't believe in a creator or manager of the universe, it doesn't mean that we're all alone and there's no help. Okay, there's always help. Yeah, but we have to ask for it. Yeah, we have to be receptive to it. Otherwise, the holy beings can be trying to help us, but we have our boundaries. Yeah. Chenrezig, don't ask me to forgive that person that abused me. I cannot do it. I don't want to do it. I hate that person forever. Don't ask me to forgive. Yeah. As if forgiving were going to cause us suffering. Okay? So, this practice of refuge. Then, in the first verse that we're doing, it's not just refuge, it's also the altruistic intention of bodhicitta. Okay? So refuge is the direction we're going in, and bodhicitta is why we're going in that direction. In other words, why do I want to develop impartial compassion for all beings? Why do I want to develop wisdom of conventional and ultimate truths? Is it just so that I can be the best and be the biggest know-it-all, and and everybody will respect me? Is it just because I want to get out of my own samsara? Yeah. Why are we wanting to do this practice? Why are we wanting to be alive? Yeah. It's because we want to be rich and famous and popular and respected and everything? No. Why are we doing this practice? Why do we want to be alive? Because we want to attain full enlightenment for the benefit of all beings. Because that's the only reasonable thing to do when you think about it. Yeah? When you think that, okay, there's been beginningless lifetimes and I've done everything in samsara. And I've been born as everything from the most unfortunate living being to the most fortunate living being. I've even had single-pointed concentration before and been born in these realms, in these God realms where the beings have, incredible bliss of single-pointed concentration for eons. I've even done that. I've done everything in samsara. Yeah. And I'm still here. Me and my pity party. I'm still here. Even, I've been president of, the United States. And I've been, I don't know, all these, Lady Gaga? I don't know who that is. Who's Lady Gaga? I just hear that name. Anyway, I've been all these things. Okay. So, we've been everything, done everything, had everything. Yeah. The only thing we haven't done is practice the path. The only thing. So we might as well, we always want to do something new and different. So, don't we? We get bored doing the same old thing. Samsara is boring. It is totally boring. You die, you get reborn and you die again and again and again. It's like boring. So let's do something different for a change. And let's get out of samsara. Okay? And let's get out of samsara not only for our own benefit, but for the benefit of all these living beings who have been our parents in the past and who have been kind to us. Yeah. Because if we don't do that, what are we going to do? Well, get out of samsara for our own benefit. Well, yeah, that's okay. And if we don't do that, then what are we going to do? More and more samsara, again and again and again and again and again. Play out our old stuff again and again and again. Yeah. We haven't played out our neuroses enough. We haven't been reborn and died enough. We haven't gone up and down enough. We haven't felt insecure enough. Yeah. So when you really think about it, yeah, aiming for Buddhahood is the only reasonable thing to do. Yeah. And we can do it. And there's no pressure. Nobody's telling you have to do it by next week or else you're a failure. Nobody's putting that pressure on us. Yeah, it's just, okay, there's this beautiful direction I can go in life. Doesn't matter how long it takes me to get there, I'm going there. Yeah, and then we go. And so that's our bodhicitta motivation. Okay? So that's it for this session. We'll talk some more about the sadhana tomorrow. But, the next period is some silent meditation, so really do some reflection on this. Okay, incorporate this into your meditation.